Hey there, CINEMASTER fans! Hope you're ready for some movie magic. Let's dive right in. The third season starts with Squid Game. We see player number 145 asking the guards to let him live, but they kill him. One of the guards shoots player number 246, and he falls to the ground. He doesn't want to die because his daughter is sick in the hospital, so the guard asks him to close his eyes and scans him, removing him from the game. At that moment, one of the female guards tells her fellow guard that she wants to know where the operating room is, which is the place where the organs of the dead players are removed, so the game owners can take them and give them to people who need organ transplants. After that, the guards place a coffin in the middle of the player's room, and Seong is unconscious inside the coffin. The players, terrified, quickly carry him and put him on his bed. At that moment, Detective Hwang is on a boat at sea searching for the island where Squid Game is played, so he can catch the game organizer. It turns out there was a murder of the boat's driver, so Hwang decides to stop at the nearest port to look for a new driver. Back to Seong, who wakes up with blood on his face and is shocked to learn that 35 players died in the escape attempt. He remembers his friend Young, who was killed in front of him, so he sits on his bed in shock. The guards enter and inform the players that the prize money has increased to 39,600,000, and only 60 players will compete for it. But Seong gets angry at them and asks why they let him live, demanding they kill him and end his suffering. The guards grab him and tie him to the bed. The game supervisor is watching them through the cameras and gets a call from the captain of the boat carrying Detective Hwang. We learn that the captain actually follows the game, so the supervisor orders him to delay Hwang, and if he can't, to kill him before he boards the ship. It's then time for the players to vote on whether to continue the game. Seong refuses to vote, and the players start moving to cast their votes. The first player chooses to continue the game, and it turns out that many players want to continue for the prize. The supervisor meets with one of the guards and asks him to assign new guards to replace those who died, and to repair the facility damaged during the escape attempt, because the important people are on their way. The players vote to continue the game, and the guard informs them that the game will resume the next day. The players start mocking Seong and suspect that everything that happened was his plan to eliminate as many players as possible during the escape, since he's the only one who survived. Player number 44 goes to talk to him and tells him she came back to the game for the souls of the dead players, but won't keep hearing their voices in her head for the rest of her life. He snaps at her and chokes her, but her friends save her at the last moment. In the operating room, one of the guards arrives. We learn she used to be a player, number 11, before joining the guards. She sees the guards dissecting the body of player number 246, so she grabs her weapon and kills them one by one, leaving only one alive. She orders him to treat player 246's wound and says she'll kill him herself. He agrees. We see the player called Gomja, an old and poor woman, going to talk to Seong to give him food. We learn that she and her son Young are both participating in the game. Young tells Seong that he saw player Daiho take the bullets during the escape, but didn't give them to the other players. Seong gets angry and decides to take revenge on Daiho. On the ship, several days have passed for Detective Hwang at sea, and he still hasn't found the island. Chief Choi comes to him and says that last night he saw Captain Park holding a screwdriver and suspects Park is with the game. Hwang replies that Park saved his life before and he trusts him not to betray him. The next day, Daiho wakes up and sees Seong looking at him angrily. He quickly gets up and he and the other players gather to participate in the new Squid Game. On the way, they see the bodies of the players who tried to escape hanging in the middle of the hall. The guards tell them this is the fate of anyone who tries to escape, so they all get scared except for Seong, who wants revenge for his friends. They enter the play hall and learn they must split into two teams using a room with blue or red balls. The room will randomly assign a color to each player, so each takes a ball and learns their team. Seong is on the red team. In the operating room, player number 11 threatens the guard and makes him treat player 246's wound. She finds out he needs a blood transfusion, so she decides to give him her own blood, holding her gun to the guard's head to kill him if he tries anything wrong. Back in the play hall, we learn they will play hide and seek. The blue team has 30 minutes to find an exit from the room and hide from the red team, whose mission is to catch and kill the blue team players. If a red team player catches someone but doesn't kill him, the red player will be killed instead. The guards give keys to the blue team to open doors and escape, but any door opened once cannot be closed again. The red team gets knives to kill the blue team. There's one last chance for any player to switch teams, so they all look at each other, scared and unable to think. On the boat, Hwang finds a new driver to continue the journey. He notices Chief Choi is missing from the boat, so he calls him and asks where he is. Choi tells him he won't continue the journey. We see Choi standing at the port, getting into a car with a young man, and learns that the boss has died and he must act quickly. Back to Squid Game, player number 124 is making fun of his friend Mansu, thinking their friend Thanos is dead, and now only the two of them are left. Player 124 and Mansu are on the red team. Player number 333 tries to switch teams with Junghoon because she is pregnant and can't kill anyone, as red team players must kill at least one blue team player. She refuses, so he suggests he'll go when the game starts so she can kill him, his goal being to protect her and her unborn child. Player Young and his mother try to switch teams so she can join the blue team and escape, as he's afraid for her since she can't kill anyone. She refuses at first because she's also afraid for him, but eventually agrees, on the condition that he looks for her to protect her from the other red team players. Daiho gets into a fight with Seong, thinking he's to blame for the failed escape plan. Daiho is afraid to kill him because he's on the blue team. At that moment, the game begins, and the blue team moves to hide. Junghoon changes her clothes at the last moment with player number 333, who promises to look for her and save her. Then the blue team enters a strange-looking room. Its ceiling has drawings of the sky and stars. They only have 2 minutes to hide. So, player number 120 goes in, bringing soldiers and skulls to hide. The red team starts moving, looking for the blue team. Seong is the last one to move, and player number 246 wakes up. Player number 11, the guard, thanks her, then she kills him so he won't tell anyone her true identity. She decides to have number 246 disguise himself as one of the guards. The red team arrives at the star room and starts searching for the blue team. Player number 24, named Nam Gyu, talks to number 333, Lo Myung. Nam Gyu acts strangely, which makes Myung suspicious, and he leaves him to walk alone. Player number 44 is walking in the corridors with some other players who see her as their leader. She makes gestures with her hands in the air and tells them that the gods are communicating with her and guiding her to the right path, especially since the way ahead looks like a maze. She chooses a path and they all follow her. Player 100 is also trying to escape and opens the first door. When he tries to open the second door, he finds that his key doesn't work. Another player comes and opens the door with his key. At that moment, Junho, Gomja, and player number 120, whose name is Hyun, arrive. They discover that each one of them has a key with a different shape. One has a triangle, another a square, and the third a circle. Hyun understands that each door needs a specific key shape, so the three of them decide to team up to escape. Daehun tries to escape, but Seong sees him and chases him. When Daehun opens the door, he finds that the place is a deep well. Seong arrives at that moment, but sees that this isn't Daehun. He sees the real Daehun on the other side of the well. Daehun is very scared. The other players continue the chase until Myung finds player number 235. 235 attacks Myung, but Myung manages to dodge his strike. Namgyu enters the room and tries to defend himself against 235, but 235 hits Namgyu and knocks him to the ground. Myung stabs 235 to save his friend. Then Namgyu stabs 235 as well, and they argue over who should kill him. They decide to kill him at the same time, so they both stay in the game until someone else kills them. Myung takes the key from number 235. After they leave, someone crawls out from the pot next to them, terrified, and finds Namgyu's pill on the ground. He takes it to gather his courage and join the game. At that moment, number 226 attacks Junho. Hyun defends her and fights with number 226, defeating him easily. She stabs him with his own knife, killing him. We go to Numeria, who tries to escape with his friend, number 232. They open one of the rooms and find a player from the red team inside. Numeria leaves and locks the door on number 232. Player number 349 attacks and kills 232, thus succeeding in the game, and her role ends. She leaves, and Numeria opens the door again, takes the key from number 232, and escapes. Myung and Namgyu find another, lose because she can't move with her daughter. He suggests the others consider the child a player, forcing Jinna to step on herself to win and save her daughter, because whoever loses will die. The man with the eagle mask agrees, and the game begins. The game consists of two dolls, a boy and a girl, standing facing each other and spinning a rope very fast. Each player must cross a bridge between the two dolls while jumping the rope. If they hit the rope, they will fall and die. Everyone gets worried and doesn't want to participate at all in the game, until Mansul goes to Namjo and they find out that he has the chain with him and won't give it to him. Namjo gets angry at him and asks him for the chain quickly because he wants the pill inside it. So Mansul throws the chain, and Namjo finds out that he still has the chain and won't give it to him. So Namjo gets angry and asks him for the chain quickly because he wants the pill inside. Mansul throws the chain off the bridge, so Namjo is forced to cross the bridge to get the chain, and as soon as he reaches it, he discovers it's empty. He doesn't notice that the rope is close to his leg, and suddenly the rope hits him, and he falls and dies. The rest of the players are shocked by his appearance lying on the ground, but at that moment, Seong decides to defend the little girl, So he tells Junho that he will take the girl and cross to the other side, and then he will come back to take her, because she can't cross due to her leg. Seong actually crosses the bridge amid encouragement from the players, the game organizers, and the guards, and starts encouraging the rest of the players to cross, so they cross, and player number 96 reaches the other side and pushes anyone who comes near him off the bridge. Seong is shocked and tries to stop him, but 96 keeps doing what he's doing and takes out a few players by himself. There are players midway who are afraid to continue for fear of dying, and afraid to go back because they will also die. 96 looks at Seong and suggests that they finish off all the players and just the two of them remain, and split the money in half. Seong threatens him that if he doesn't get out of the way, he'll throw him off the bridge and take all the money for himself. 96 gets scared and quickly backs away, and the players cross to the other side. Only 7 minutes are left for the game to end, and Junho still hasn't moved from her place. He goes to her and offers her help, but she replies that he's a coward and a traitor because he killed her friend right in front of her eyes for the sake of money. She shows him her swollen leg and asks if he would carry her and cross with her. She notices that he refuses, so she asks him to leave her and not think of coming near her again. Myungji also starts to cross the path, and at that moment, he takes the last pill he has and crosses the bridge, scared and tense, and starts seeing hallucinations, like the girl in the game smiling at him. So he gets scared but pulls himself together and crosses to the other side of the bridge with just a few seconds left. Seong asks her to stay where she is and that he will come back to save her, but she tells him not to return because he is her only hope to save her daughter. Junho breaks down crying, knowing that she would do anything to save her daughter, and so she decides to sacrifice her life to protect Seong and the little girl, as he is the only one who can take care of her. She bids Seong farewell and moves to the edge to throw herself off. And just a few seconds before the game ends, Junho throws herself and dies, and the game ends. At that moment, the game organizers decide to make the little girl player number 222 in Junho's place. Although at first, none of them agree to the idea, they eventually accept it to add excitement to the game. The guards go to the players' rooms and tell them that from now on, there are 9 of them competing for the big prize among themselves. They are surprised because there are only 8 of them, so the guard tells them that the little girl is player number 9. They get angry and decide to get rid of the girl and go back to being 8, but the guard fires a shot in the air and asks them to stay away from the girl. He distributes gifts to them to celebrate that they survived the last game. At the police station, we see Choi being interrogated, and Kim steals Park's house. Because Choi was evading taxes, Choi asks the investigator to make a call from his phone, but he refuses. The investigator calls Park to let him know his house was robbed. Park is on the boat with Hwang, and they are planning how to reach the island. Hwang identifies the places he suspects, but Park knows it's impossible for the island to be nearby because that area is full of storms and the Coast Guard passes by all the time. Suddenly, Park's phone rings, and he learns from the police investigator that Choi stole the money and the bag with the clothes from his house. The investigator tells him that Choi is talking strangely about an island and a game where people die. Park says he knows nothing about that and thanks him for returning his belongings. Back at the police station, Choi is angry and wants to make an urgent call. The investigator brings the phone closer to unlock it with his fingerprint, and Choi steals the phone and escapes quickly before anyone can catch him. He calls Hwang and tells him everything, that Park knows he entered his house and discovered his identity, and will probably finish off everyone on the boat. Indeed, Park enters the control room and calls the captain of boat number 2, realizes he's been discovered, and finishes off his crew. He takes the gun from the closet, goes to the room where the crew is gathered, shoots them all, killing everyone except one. He enters the room to kill him too, and before he does, Park asks him about Hwang's location. He tells him that he's behind him, and Hwang appears behind him and stabs him in the chest, so he falls to the ground. He asks him why he saved him from death before, and he replies that he did so to carry out the orders of the supervisor, who is the owner of the game. Hwang doesn't know who he means, so he asks him to tell him the location of the island, but he refuses and dies afterward. Hwang and the other investigator are left on the boat. We return to the Squid Game facility, where we see Seong dressed smartly, having lunch, looking upset and longing for himself, always focused on the little girl because he's worried about her. The game organizers are afraid the players will quit, because each one's share has become more than 4 million. So the supervisor promises them the players will agree to continue the game to the end because of their greed. The guards enter the 9 players and offer a lot to all the players, even the little girl. They bring her a bottle to feed her too, so Seong feels reassured about her and starts eating. After a while, the guard informs them that the final game will be a new kind, and in the game, they will decide themselves who loses, who dies, and who survives and takes the money. But they must choose at least 3 players to lose, and they can choose more if they want. The players agree to the game. When it's time to vote, Seong and Mansul refuse to continue the game, and 5 players agree for the game to continue, so they win by majority. The guard tells them the new game will be the next day. We go to the game organizers who are happy because the supervisor turned out to be right, and the players decided to continue the game to the end. The masked owner asks if this game will really be the decisive one, and the supervisor tells him not to get ahead of events, and that he would keep the game of life to himself until the next day so that they would remain curious and get the most enjoyment out of it. On the boat, he is treating his friend Huang and asks him to help him get to the island, so he is forced to tell him the truth, that his brother is on the island with the rest of the players and can't reach him, and he doesn't know that his brother is actually player 1. So Huang's friend agrees to help him, but they still don't know the location of the island. Then Huang remembers that Park, earlier, pointed at an area on the map and told them it was impossible for the island to be in that area, so he suspects that's actually where the island is and Park was trying to trick them. Back to the Squid Game, we see player 11 escaping with player 246, and as soon as they move the boat, player 4 calls her on the radio and asks her to come back before it's too late. She tells him she's escaping and warns him not to look for her again. Player 4 tells her he knows where they're going, and he has a picture of player 246's daughter in front of him, so he threatens player 11 that if she doesn't come back, he'll kill the girl. She changes the boat's direction to return, and inside the game, the players start thinking about who to choose to lose. The first choice is Seong because the rest of the players hate him and want to get rid of him, so they choose the child and Minsu. So they get rid of 3 players, leaving only 6, and they divide the money among themselves. They all agree because each one will get 7 million won and 600,000. After a while, player 11 returns to the island and asks player 246 to escape alone and inform the police as soon as he reaches the shore because his daughter is in danger. He moves the boat, and it turns out there's a tracking device on it, so player 4 realizes they're escaping by boat again and tells his guards to finish off 11 and 246. Player 11 heads for the ventilation shaft to get back inside the facility. Inside, Seong goes to meet the supervisor, feeling shocked and not knowing why the supervisor wants to see him. As soon as he sees him, the supervisor removes his mask, and Seong gets angry and lashes out at him. When she meets her mother and younger sister, Regina comes across 2 zombies and tries to draw her sword to eliminate them. However, the weapon gets stuck in its sheath, and she ends up being saved by Kronos, who appears and eliminates the creatures. Just then, the group walks to the door and finds another monster in their path. This time, however, Regina manages to eliminate it with her sword, and seeing the girl in action, Kronos becomes even more enamored. Soon after, Johnny and Tavo show up, and Regina asks her mother to take Victoria to a safe place while she and her friends take out those zombies. During the battle, Anna got separated from the rest of the group, and now they have to find her. Before they leave the kitchen, Tavo asks his friend for forgiveness for having written a love letter to the girl, but Kronos says that he is now in love with Regina and doesn't mind if his friend and Anna stay together. By now, the zombies have invaded the party and are devouring the guests. So Tavo pulls out his pistol and starts shooting at them, but the bullets can't eliminate them. Just then, Johnny springs into action and shoots the creatures right in the head. They then run to lock the doors of the club and Anna turns off the sound. Seeing the girl in danger, Tavo opens the gates again and, with the help of his friends, manages to distract the zombies in order to reach Anna. As they try to destroy as many creatures as possible, Johnny's ammunition runs out and he ends up being surrounded. When they see their friend being devoured by zombies, the teenagers feel deep sadness and no longer have the strength to continue the battle. At this point, the group ends up being surrounded, and everyone is about to suffer the same tragic fate as Johnny when Vargas appears with her men and orders the children to flee while they take charge of eliminating the zombies. After catching Vargitas, who was trapped inside the truck, Tavo finds some grenades and decides to take them to Vargas while his friends go to safety. However, when he enters the club, he discovers that the criminal and her men have been surrounded and decides to set off the explosives. After removing the pin from one of the grenades, the young man jumps to the ground and his friends hear a huge explosion. Luckily, Tavo manages to escape without any injuries and is soon reunited with the rest of his team. Relieved, the teenagers hug each other and Anna ends up being bitten by Loki, the zombie dog. She immediately decides to take her own life as she doesn't want to turn into a zombie. However, Kronos says that there may be a way to save her, but Tavo will have to suck the contaminated blood so that the virus doesn't spread to the rest of her body. Even though he knows that he could also end up being infected, Tavo decides to risk his own life to save her, which makes Anna even more fascinated by him. However, when he sees the dog that bit the girl, Kronos realizes that it is not Loki and that the animal is not infected by the virus. Relieved, the young people leave and wait for the police to arrive. While the firemen put out the fire caused by the explosion, Regina's mother tries to explain to the police that there has been a real zombie attack in the Sarah Linda condominium, but none of them believe her. After saving the planet from a zombie threat, Regina accepts Kronos' proposal and he decides to accompany her home. Now that they are finally alone, Anna and Tavo can declare how they feel about each other. If you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time. Find out that this player is Player 1, the one who was with him in the second part. Player 1 suggests to Seong that he help him stay alive along with the child and gives him a dagger to use on the other players. Seong refuses and wants to kill Player 1, but there's nothing to gain from killing him, so he decides to listen to him and takes the knife. Seong returns to the players' hall and approaches the first player to finish him off, but then remembers a memory the supervisor had when he was still a player and was given the same knife to eliminate the other players and win. He managed to get rid of the players easily. Now he's watching Seong, waiting to see if he'll do the same. When Seong gets close to the first player to kill him, he remembers player 68, who was crying and asked him not to kill anyone because he's kind and can't do that. Seong feels guilty, changes his mind, and walks away from the player. The next day, player 11 enters through the ventilation shaft and reaches player 4's office. She senses movement at the door and quickly hides. We go to Huang, who's still at sea searching for the island. The supervisor calls him on the boat's radio and tells him to stay away from the island and not to investigate the game any further, or he'll die. Huang replies that he won't go back now that he's come this far, and if the supervisor wants to stop him, he'll have to kill him when they meet. He hangs up. Back to player 11 in player 4's office. She threatens him with her weapon, so he's forced to obey her. She makes him delete player 246's file from the system. We find out she's doing all this to save 246 and his daughter from death. Player 4 admires her, but decides to take revenge on her. Before he moves, she tells him she'll kill him since the version on the computer is the last copy. He tells her there's a paper copy in the supervisor's office, and he's the only one who can enter besides the supervisor. She makes him walk ahead of her, and they take the elevator. Suddenly, player 4 attacks her, and they fight until they reach the office. They leave the elevator, and the door closes with the weapon inside. They struggle together until player 4 stabs her in the stomach, and at that moment, he realizes the new game is about to start. He opens the screen to watch the game. Player 11 crawls on the ground to the elevator, opens the door, grabs the weapon, and shoots him dead. Back to the Squid game, we see the players preparing for the new game. They take the elevator and go up to the top floor of the facility because the new game is called the Heavenly Squid Game. The rules are, there are 3 towers for the geometric shapes: circle, triangle, and square. On each tower, at least one must lose, or more than one, and they choose who loses and dies and who stays alive. They're all anxious because no one wants to die, and they start thinking about killing the child and Seong. Meanwhile, Minsu looks over the edge of the tower and sees a memory of his friend Thanos, who died earlier, asking him to save him. Then Thanos changes into Namju, who grabs Minsu's leg. He gets very scared and keeps hitting him to get away. The memory keeps shifting between Namju and Minsu, and at that moment, Myungji decides to change their minds and suggests they get rid of Minsu first. They agree and approach him, but no one dares to push him off the tower because they're afraid they'll fall with him. Myungji grabs a metal pole stuck in the middle of the tower and pushes Minsu, who imagines his lover Simul dead, and he falls from the tower to the ground. That's the end of the first round, and next is the Triangle Tower. They cross a small bridge and reach the Triangle Tower, and they have only 15 minutes to choose who will die. The game organizers are watching everything from a glass window in the facility and see the players trying to throw off the child. Player 353 grabs the pole in the middle of the tower and threatens Seong that if he doesn't throw the girl, he'll finish him off. Seong gets angry at him and knows that after he gets rid of the girl, he'll discover there are more games and they'll keep getting rid of each other until only one wins. Seong scares him by saying next round it'll be his turn, so he gives up and returns the pole to the other players. We go to a group of guards on a boat at sea, still chasing player 246 to kill him. They keep shooting at him, but none of the bullets hit him until he stops his boat. 2 guards appear in front of him, and one says he lost the game and must die. Suddenly, Huang's ship arrives. He shoots the guards, kills them all, and saves 246. It turns out player 11 is in the supervisor's office trying to destroy 246's file, so he disappears from the organization as if he never entered before. Back to the Squid game, the players decide to get rid of Seong, so they lie to Seong and tell him they will do a draw, so he asks to be the one to conduct the draw. Player 336 gives him the papers. Seong discovers they made a rope from their suits, so Seong pulls out a knife and cuts the rope. He threatens 336 to throw him off the tower, so 336 begs him for forgiveness and promises not to do it again, saying they were forced to. Then it shows Myung sneaking up behind Seong, and suddenly he screams at the top of his lungs. Seong moves away, and Myung falls off the tower. Later, we learn that he intended to fall on 336 because the little girl is actually his daughter, and he wanted to start a new life with her and Jin-ho after they leave that place. But after fighting with Jin-ho, he decided to protect his daughter to his last breath. Seong believes him because he saw it and offers to help Jin-ho so she can pass the jump rope game. Seong addresses the remaining players and decides to fight them to get rid of them. They beg him to give them a chance to find a solution, and they suggest doing a draw, but he refuses. They grab player 39 and keep beating him because he's the weakest among them. Player 100 explains the plan to Seong, saying there's just one stage left and the game will be over, and the aim is to get rid of just one person and make 39 the scapegoat. Seong refuses and tells them to do the draw as they originally wanted, and whoever's name comes up in the draw will die. The players get scared and refuse to do the draw. Player 203 attacks Seong, and they kill each other. Seong manages to stab him and finishes him off. Myung fights 353 and easily defeats him, throwing him off the tower. After that, player 100 sees this and celebrates, but Seong looks at him with contempt because he's a despicable, treacherous man, and pushes him off the tower too. At this moment, 39 becomes very scared, feeling they will use him since he's the weakest and throw him off in the last round. So he decides to end his suffering and throws himself off the mountain. That leaves only the little girl alive. They stare at each other in shock, not knowing what to do. Meanwhile, Hwang is talking to 246, thinking he's one of the guards. 246 tells him everything and lets him scan him with the scanner, which shows his number is 246. Hwang realizes he played in the Squid game. 246 points out the location of the island, so Hwang decides to go there to arrest the game organizers. He goes into the water alone, leaving 246 on the boat to inform the Coast Guard of his location. Back at the Squid game, we see guard number 11 burning all the player files. She's injured, bleeding, and about to die. She takes out her own file to read it, and we learn her name is Newell. She sees a picture of her daughter in the file, who died when she was young. Newell looks at the picture, devastated, missing her daughter terribly, wishing she could see her one last time. Inside the game, Myung decides to sacrifice Seong since he's the last one alive. He crosses the first bridge, holding the iron rod in his hand, and asks Seong to give him the girl and stay on the second tower. When time runs out, Seong will die and the girl will survive with her father. Seong gets nervous and asks him, if he does this, who will he sacrifice in the last round? Seong expects he will sacrifice the girl, so he refuses to give her to him and asks him to cross the bridge quickly, because if time runs out, they will all die on the bridge. Myung refuses all of this, so Seong leaves the girl on the bridge, returns to the triangle tower, and quickly grabs the knife. At the last moment, before the bridge collapses, he jumps to the final tower, which is the circle tower. Seong fights Myung until they drop the iron rod on the ground. Myung takes the girl and stands on the edge of the tower, threatening Seong that if he takes one more step, he'll throw her off. Seong throws down his knife, asks him to leave the girl, so Myung lets go of the girl and grabs the knife, attacking Seong and stabbing him in the shoulder. But Seong pulls the knife out easily. They fight until both fall onto the tower. At the last moment, Seong grabs an iron bar sticking out of the tower and hangs from his jacket to avoid falling. He actually tries to save Myung, but Myung falls and dies. The game organizers are amazed that Seong won again, as it's the first time in Squid Game history that someone has won twice. But Seong discovers he hasn't pressed the start button, and after he does, one of them, either him or the girl, must die for the game to end. Seong starts the game and decides to jump with the girl at once so she won't have to live this miserable life. He looks at the surveillance cameras and speaks to the game organizer, telling them these players are not livestock and not even human, and their deaths shouldn't be entertainment for the rich. He seems to have lost hope in life but feels sorry for the little girl and decides to leave her on the tower. He says goodbye with a final look and throws himself off the tower, dying to save the little girl's life. Seong succeeds in his mission and saves the girl. The game ends, and it's announced that the girl wins all the money since she's the only one left alive. Number 11 finishes destroying all the files and was about to commit suicide by throwing herself into the fire, but changes her mind at the last moment, puts on a guard suit, and escapes with them. At this moment, Hwang arrives at the island, hoping to stop the game and arrest the organizers. But the supervisor realizes he's near the island and orders all the guards to execute the escape plan. He activates the island's self-destruct system, giving them only 30 minutes before the island explodes and the Squid Game disappears as if it never existed. Hwang continues inside the facility, sees the supervisor, removes his mask, says goodbye to Seong's body one last time, climbs to the top of the tower, and takes the little girl before the place explodes. Suddenly, Huang is shot at and discovers the supervisor is actually his own brother, which shocks him. He can't believe it and keeps asking why he did this, but his brother ignores him, takes the girl, and escapes quickly on a huge ship with the other guards and the game organizer. Huang escapes from the facility at the last moment, jumps into the water. Afterward, we see an unknown person entering a dark room with a gun in hand. He opens the door and finds a huge sum of money inside. 6 months later, Newell checks on 246, who is working as a street artist in Korea. He doesn't recognize her or even know her face. He keeps asking if he's seen her before. She tells him she worked at the place for a while and knows everything about him and his daughter, and she just came to have him draw her and check on them. Nothing more. Newell leaves before he even finishes her portrait. In her car, someone she hired to look for her daughter calls her, and we learn her daughter isn't dead, just missing. The person tells her someone saw her daughter in China, so she decides to travel on the same day, and when she arrives at the airport, that person sees her. But he quickly hides from her and calls her, telling her that he wished he could have met her before she traveled. But he is not available now because he is busy. Huang goes to the prison because today is Cho's release date. They take Huang to return home, and on the way, they tell him that all the money Seonggi left them in the outlet was stolen. He doesn't know how it was stolen in the first place, because no one knew its location except Huang, Cho, and Seonggi. But Seonggi has died. Huang returns home upset because he lost all the money. As soon as he enters the house, he is shocked when he sees the little girl in his room. He finds a small letter with her. Inside is a card that says she won the Squid Game, along with a Visa card. Huang takes the Visa card and goes to check how much money is on it. He expects that the password is Gi-hun's number in the Squid Game. His plan works, and he discovers that the Visa has more than 45 billion on it. He is happy that the money is back, so he decides to raise the girl and rebuild the hotel. Cho Kim. Later in Los Angeles, we see him knocking on a door in the city. A beautiful girl named Ja-young opens the door, and we learn that Ja-young is Seonggi's little daughter. She is very upset with her father because he never checks on her or even calls her. He gives her a small box of Squid Game toys. She thinks it's from her dad and gets upset because he only just remembered her. She tells him she doesn't want anything from him and is about to close the door in his face, but he realizes the box contains her father's belongings. Ja-young is shocked and takes the box from him. She opens it and finds Seonggi's Squid Game suit inside, with a small black letter and a Visa card. She runs quickly to catch up with him, but he is already leaving. Then it shows him in his car. He rolls down the window and sees a beautiful girl wearing a suit, playing a game with a homeless man in the street. If he wins, he will join the new version of the Squid Game. We find out that this girl is the replacement for the game representative who appeared in the first season, and that's how the third and final season of Squid Game ends. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. If you did, make sure to subscribe for more awesome content.